we are counting down the 8 UK bacon brands that pack in so much extra water you may be paying more for liquid than meat. From so-called premium rashers that all but vanish in the pan, to budget packs with shockingly high water content, these entries reveal just how far supermarket bacon can stray from the real thing. Which brand charges the most for less actual bacon? Let us start with number 8. Asda's extra special unsmoked back bacon arrives dressed in countryside charm, promising a taste of tradition at £3.50 for a 300-gram pack. But behind the premium label sits a familiar trick: 8% added water plus dextrose and sodium nitrite listed in the ingredients. Once the rashers hit the pan, the illusion disappears. Nearly half the weight vanishes as water steams off, leaving just 180 grams of cooked bacon for your money, about £1.94 per 100 grams of actual meat. Customer reviews echo the disappointment, calling out the rashers for flooding the pan and turning spongy instead of crisp. Despite the promise, this bacon fails the test, proving that upscale packaging does not guarantee real value or quality. Tesco finest outdoor bred bacon arrives with the promise of higher welfare and premium taste, yet the label reveals a different story. Each 240-gram pack contains 10% added water, pushing the cooked weight down to just 140 grams, meaning a shopper pays £4 for what amounts to £2.85 per 100 grams of actual bacon. The ingredients list does not hide the use of sodium triphosphate, a water retention agent that keeps the rashers plump in the packet, but which releases a white residue in the pan. Complaints poured in throughout 2023 about this chalky liquid, with customers questioning why outdoor-bred claims are used to justify the price, while brine injection remains standard practice. The gap between the ethical branding and what ends up sizzling, if it sizzles at all, shows how even the most carefully crafted provenance can mask the reality of water-laden bacon. Sainsbury's tastes the difference. Dry cure bacon stands out for its price, £4.20 for just 200 grams, making it the most expensive per raw gram so far. The label promises a traditional dry cure, evoking images of slow, careful craftsmanship. But the ingredients list quietly reveals 5% added water, a detail that clashes with what most people expect from a dry cured product. True dry curing, by definition, draws moisture out of the meat, not in. Yet here, a premium price covers a process that still relies on water injection, exploiting a regulatory loophole that allows this practice as long as the water content stays low enough to avoid front-of-pack warnings. Reviews repeatedly mention a slimy texture and bacon that shrinks far more than it should. Trading standards complaints have been filed, but no enforcement has followed. For shoppers, this is a lesson in how surface labels can conceal more than they reveal. Morrison's. The best smoked bacon comes with a promise of top-tier quality, but the numbers tell a different story. Each 220-gram pack lists a premium price of £3.80, yet laboratory testing reveals 12% of that weight is just water, not pork. The cooked yield drops to around 125 grams, meaning more than 40% vanishes as steam. That translates to a staggering £52 per kilo for actual bacon, far above what most shoppers expect to pay. Behind the scenes, former butchery staff describe how central packing lines use high-pressure brine injection to bulk up every rasher. Sodium ascorbate is added alongside water, helping meat hold onto moisture just long enough to survive the trip from factory to frying pan. But once the heat hits, the illusion evaporates. Customers are left with shrunken slices, a watery pan, and the realization that even the best is not immune to the profit-driven tricks shaping the UK bacon aisle. Co-op's irresistible unsmoked back bacon leans hard on its ethical image, promising higher standards and quality you can trust. Yet the reality hiding in the ingredients list is anything but reassuring. Each 200-gram pack contains a staggering 15% added water, more than any other so-called premium supermarket bacon tested here. Modified starch, buried in the fine print, acts as a stealth filler, helping the bacon hold even more water until it hits the frying pan. Once cooked, nearly half the weight disappears, leaving just 110 grams of actual bacon on your plate. At £4 per pack, that works out to £3.64 per 100 grams of cooked meat, more expensive than many artisan butcher options. Customer complaints in 2024 piled up, with buyers frustrated by watery rashers and a texture that never delivers on the brand's ethical promise. Co-op's own quality standards allow this, despite the premium price tag and responsible branding. For shoppers expecting better from an irresistible label, the numbers tell a story of profit over principle. Tesco Everyday Value. Bacon sits on the shelf as the budget option, promising a full 300 grams for just £2.20. But that promise falls apart the moment the rashers hit the pan. With 18% added water, sometimes even more according to FSA sampling, what looks cheap at checkout turns into a false economy at home. After cooking, a standard pack shrinks down to around 165 grams of actual bacon, nearly half the weight lost as steam and watery residue. The maths is inescapable. What started as £2.20 for 300 grams becomes £1.33 for every 100 grams of cooked meat. That is more expensive per edible gram than some premium butcher bacon, despite the bargain branding. FSA tests have even found rashers in this range with water content pushing 25%, well above what most shoppers would expect. The ingredients list reads like a chemistry set, cheapest cuts blended with maximum legal additives to hold onto as much water as possible, right up until the heat drives it all out. Tesco Everyday Value. Bacon claims to save you money, but in reality you are paying top price for water that disappears before breakfast is even served. Asda Smart Price Streaky Bacon sits at the bottom of the price ladder, but its real cost is hidden in the numbers. Independent lab analysis found a staggering 22% of the pack's weight is just water, nearly a quarter of what you are paying for. Out of a 250-gram pack, only about 130 grams remain after cooking. That means you are shelling out £1.38 for every 100 grams of actual bacon. A price that quietly closes in on so-called premium brands. The ingredient list does not stop at water. Mechanically separated meat appears alongside standard cuts, a clear signal of cost-cutting over quality. When the rashers hit the pan, the evidence is impossible to ignore. Instead of the sizzle of rendered fat, a white foam starts to bubble up, a telltale sign of protein breakdown caused by excess water and additives. The cheap price tag promises value, but the math tells a different story. Nearly half your breakfast vanishes as steam, and what is left behind is more filler than food. Asda Smart Price earns its spot as the penultimate offender, pushing water content past 20% and leaving shoppers with little more than a wet disappointment. Iceland Budget Smoked Bacon sits at the very bottom of the scale, earning its place as the worst offender in the entire UK bacon aisle. Independent lab testing found a staggering 28% of this product's weight is just water, more than a quarter of the pack gone before it even leaves the pan. A 200-gram pack, priced at £1.50, shrinks to barely 100 grams once cooked, doubling the real cost to £1.50 per 100 grams of actual bacon. That is more expensive than many butcher or premium supermarket options, despite the bargain branding. The ingredient list reads like a warning sign. Sodium polyphosphate and carrageenan are both present, working together to trap as much water as possible in every slice. When heat hits the pan, that water floods out as steam and foam, leaving behind a rubbery texture with a chemical aftertaste. A 2024 investigation by Which magazine ranked Iceland Budget Smoked Bacon dead last, calling out both its extreme water content and its inedible texture. For shoppers, this is not just a bad deal. It is the clearest example of how the industry's drive for profit has pushed quality off the table. Iceland's budget bacon does not just disappoint, it stands as a warning for anyone who cares about what is really in their food. Across all 8 brands, one truth stands out. Profit now trumps quality in the United Kingdom bacon aisle. Water and additives replace real meat, and weak labelling laws keep shoppers in the dark. The real cost is not just in your wallet, it is in what we accept as food.